Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, March 29th, 2019, the WNW 377. Let me sum up the entire Mueller witch hunt hoax investigation for you. They made it up. They made it up. It started as a counterintelligence operation because they didn't need any kind of law breaking for that to protect America. So instead of going to Donald Trump early on in June, July, April of 2016 during the heat of the campaign and say, hey, listen, the Russians might be trying to get involved in your campaign. Oh, no. They stuck spies into Donald Trump's campaign to try to spy on him and trip him and his campaign members up. And then when they couldn't get anything there, then they have this ridiculous Comey thing where they seat Robert Mueller, where we find out now Lisa Page, who is the attorney to Andrew McCabe, the number 2 at the FBI, there was no crime and we seated Mueller, which made Mueller illegitimate. Hoax. They were trying to make up a crime to frame an incoming president of the United States who was duly elected. They made it up. Yet they still, when they report it, they did have to come out finally, no collusion, but yet the bylines were no conspiracy. Mueller leaves obstruction issue to the Attorney General like there just might be something there. No obstruction because there was no crime. And you can't obstruct a non-crime. And then we have here USA Today, this fish wrap, who I predict will be out of business. I don't think they even make it online in 5 years. Stronger today, but hobbled by division. Yes, division that USA Today and the legacy mainstream lying weasel media have propelled for the last, almost 3 years, because you go back to even before the Mueller investigation where they were hinting that Donald Trump was involved in some Russian collusion and the phony dossier and the whole deal. Just absolutely outrageous, treasonous, seditious. Finally, people are bringing up the treason word. Donald Trump at his rally tonight in Michigan says, single greatest hoax in the history of politics. There's no doubt about that. He's right on the money again. And they have to be held accountable. You mean Donald Trump's going to strike back? You mean Donald Trump now, who's been cleared of all this hoax and all this cloud and all this garbage that, he might throw people in jail. He might prosecute people. Yeah, that's what that means. And don't think he's not going to prosecute people because, what came out this week or just the last few days, Donald Trump Jr. saying, I might run for president someday. What did Mark Taylor say not too many months back and said, Donald Trump's not going to be the last Trump in the White House. And oddly enough, Mark Taylor calls me up earlier this week and says, I had this dream at twilight. I don't have any control over this. And he says, I just kept hearing Junior. What? Donald Trump Jr. is talking about possibly running for president of the United States someday. The Democrats just keep going, keep on keeping on, too. And then Donald Trump in his town hall or his rally tonight in Michigan said, he wonders if the Democrats will keep up their, quote, now this is his quote, their ridiculous bullshit. I thought, wow, we're all adults here. That's really what this is. This is outrageous. Donald Trump said that this was an illegal takedown that failed. What have I been telling you? That's right. Illegal takedown that failed. Donald Trump said that the investigation started very high up in the Obama administration. What have I been telling you about Edward Klein in his quote out of this book in December 16, 2016, that they held a dinner party at the White House, according to Edward Klein's sources, and they hatched a plan to take out Donald Trump. And who was the first to go? Lieutenant General Michael Flynn through unmasking. This is outrageous stuff. Almost as outrageous, but not quite, as Jussie Smollett, all the charges being dropped. Is there an Obama tie there? Is there some sort of something going on there? You got Democrats hating on Democrats. You're in trouble when a big-time Democrat, Rahm Emanuel, and the chief of police in Chicago are dogging out Jussie Smollett. You know, there's trouble inside the Democrat Party, just like, Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, who can't stand the fact that Nancy Pelosi went to AIPAC and was talking about not, doing the BDS thing, the boycott of Israel. Can't have that. I mean, you have major hating going on in the Democrat Party, but I'm not really upset about it. Trump called what happened treason. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Of course, he waited until after the Mueller investigation to bring up the treason word, but I've been saying this, treason, sedition. I mean, I've been saying this for I don't know how long. It's unbelievable. He also says they defeated a very corrupt establishment. Calls the Russian collusion narrative a fraud that is phony and disgusting and put a cloud over America. True that, right on the money. You can't get around the fact that what he said from the beginning, it's a witch hunt and an illegal scam. Yep, absolutely, positively correct. And then I told you about the last week or so that in a confirmation hearing, I think with Judge Collins, that Dianne Feinstein brought up military tribunals. And of course, Collins was like, wait, hold a minute. I don't think I can talk about that. They may come up in front of me in front of the bench about whether or not they're legal, whether or not you could try a citizen in a military court for terrorist crimes. I think what they did to the president was certainly treason. But I'll tell you, Sarah Sanders took the cake here on, she's talking to one of the mainstream media outlets, and she brought up and said, Sarah Sanders, the media and Democrats have called the president an agent of a foreign government. That is an accusation equal to, boom, there's the word again, treason, which is punishable by death in this country. That's her quote. Treason, which is punishable by death in this country. This is Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. Do you think she's just out there just riffing it on her own? Or do you think she's got clearance to say that? I think she has clearance to say that. That's what keeps coming up over and over again, whether it's the Lindsey Graham and Judge Kavanaugh about military tribunals and putting traitors to death, to Dianne Feinstein bringing up about military courts and trying people to commit acts of terrorism in military court, and your Press Secretary Sarah Sanders talking about treason that's punishable by death. This is unparalleled in American history, folks. Please don't let the failing mainstream media, and now they are failing. They failed with the phony polls, and Donald Trump's down by 12 points at ABC, and Hillary's going to win by a country mile, and Donald Trump's not even close to winning. Lie, 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 lie. And now the Russian collusion, one big, giant lie. A huge lie. And now with this whole thing being over, hey, guess what happens now? Now some of the repercussions. How about this? Do you think maybe they could have overridden his veto if there had been something in the Mueller report? House fails to override Trump's veto over border emergency declaration. Oh, how about this? Senate votes down Green New Deal resolution 0-57. All the Democrats could do was vote President. Once again, Joe Manchin voted with the Republicans. Joe, please, you're done in the Democrat Party. You should just flip over to the Republican side. You should. They hate you, and you're from a coal state, and you didn't vote to kill babies like your other Democrat colleagues. Joe, please, just flip over to the other side. Really, you're really a Republican anyway. You just don't know it. So what was the result of all this announcement? Well, mainstream media took it on the chin. Some estimates were 20%, Rachel Maddow show. Others were 50%. CNN, dying CNN lost almost 30% of primetime audience. Really, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow also lost big. The MSM perpetrated a huge lie, and they perpetrated that on the public for propaganda reasons for more than 2 years. Mark Walker, the congressman here in North Carolina, in the north central part of North Carolina, the 6th district of North Carolina, said, there was Russian collusion and collusion between the Hillary Clinton campaign, the fake dossier, MI6 spies, Russians, and the mainstream media to affect an election. And Mark Walker said, you know how many of our members had to get out there and tell people that that president did not collude with Russia? You know, on election day, 49% of voters thought that somehow Donald Trump had some sort of collusion. To this day, half the voters are still thinking that, you know, there's some sort of there's not. It's a lie. A treasonous, seditious lie. And remember that the media was part of the media leak strategy as discussed by Peter Strzok, the number 2 counterintelligence agent at the FBI, and Lisa Page as Paramore, who was the lawyer to the number 2 at the FBI, Andrew McCabe, talking about the media leak strategy. This is a couple of little low-lying underlings talking about, wow, wouldn't it be nice if we could get the media to leak things for us to make it like it was real. And they did. Some of the media is involved up to their necks in this. And at the very least, I think they've destroyed themselves. I mean, Donald Trump has gutted the mainstream media, told you they were fake news, and they are. They propelled a fake story, they did, for more than 2 years. And here we have, if you want to know that they're not fake news, talk to a huge, big-time Democrat, Alan Dershowitz, famed lawyer, Harvard lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who blurted this out this week. CNN banned me for not pushing collusion narrative, Alan Dershowitz said. So they punished me for that. They wanted me to push that. No, it's not true. They wanted it one-sided. Ooh, one-sided. That's propaganda, folks. I mean, they cost them a lot of money to produce this garbage on CNN, which they have 90 million people who are involved in the cable network type thing. CNN, for their part of the 90 million subscribers, charge $1 per person. That's 90 million a month. That's over $1 billion a year, and they get less than 1 million viewers many times in prime time. I barely get 1 million viewers in prime time. Well, not anymore. They lost 30%. They're getting 700,000. It's probably worse than that. Talk about the mainstream media dying. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is a stake in the heart. This is a stake in the heart. Just like there's a stake in the heart of Obamacare. You know, not too long ago, there was a judge that came out and said, oh, listen, without the individual mandate, it's not a tax. It's not constitutional. And the Trump Department of Justice says, yeah, we agree the same thing. Trump DOJ asked the appeals court to strike down all of Obamacare because it's unconstitutional. And it is unconstitutional. Now, Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats, you know, we got a dead horse. We've been beating it. It's been dead. It's starting to stink now. Let's get off this and get on. Trump's going to take your health care. I mean, what a disaster. My health care when in 2009 was about $500 a month with me and my wife. We have no pre-existing conditions. We don't have any drugs whatsoever. I take an 81 milligram aspirin. That's it, still to this day. It shot up to $2,900 a month. Thank you, President Obama, for that cheaper insurance. That I could keep my doctors, not. That I could keep my health care, not. That it was going to be cheaper, not. So that's going to be another battlefield, and I hope that the Republicans will have some cojones to come up with some sort of real health care alternative instead of, you know, the socialist, Stasi, communist, complete takeover of healthcare. Of course, you know, the socialist Bernie Sanders, you know, wants to kill all insurance companies now and just have the state take it over. Oh, yeah, we're going to have the state take it over and have the socialists take it over. The same people that voted for killing a baby when it comes outside a womb. Oh, yeah, that's the people you want to have making your decisions on whether or not you live or die. The people that'll kill a baby right outside the womb when it's born. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what could go wrong with that? I wanted to bring up Venezuela because it's been in the news. It's been in the news a lot of unfair reporting about Venezuela. Listen, I don't know what the answer is. I don't have all the answers. But the reporting is awful. It's America's trying to overthrow Venezuela. America's got their Guaido candidate, that's a self-proclaimed, interim president. Okay. But nobody says anything about the Russians that are flying soldiers in there, or about the thousands of Cubans that are in there armed, propping up the Maduro government, or China and trying to loan shark their way into Venezuela. Oh no, not a word about any of that. But the Venezuelans were I'm sorry, but they voted for Chavez and they voted for Maduro, and now the country is a mess. And that's all there's to it, folks. I don't understand how anybody would think that the United States government would go, oh, you want Venezuela, the biggest oil reserve in the world, and all their natural resources? Oh, go ahead, take over down there, destroy the place. Do you think that the United States, it's in our interest to do that, especially when it's on this side of the Atlantic and on this side of the Pacific? Do you think that's the interest of the United States? I don't think so. What's the answer? I don't know. But the reporting does not include the Russians, the Chinese, and the Cubans all involved in Venezuela to try to take a slice of meat out of that country. And that can't be good for the people of Venezuela. Donald Trump did meet with the wife of Guaido, the self-proclaimed interim president. He did warn the Russians about this, just like the Russians would warn about Crimea, right? I mean, that's in their sphere. This is in our sphere. What's China done with their loan sharking? Oh, you can't pay? We're taking over. That's China's MO. Well, here's some money for you. Oh, you can't pay? We're sending our troops in to take over. You think that's good for Venezuela? You think that's good for our side of the world? No, it's not. So I don't know what it's going to be, but it's a sticky situation, and you need to watch out for it. And the reporting should be a little more fair and tell you about all the players involved in Venezuela. And no, I do not have an answer for how this should shake out or what should happen. I want to talk to you about the economy a bit. First of all, the Turkish lira is doing terrible. Their overnight borrowing cost shot up to 1,000%. Their interest rates for bonds went to 20%. It's absolutely, the Turkish lira is in free fall, and usually when you have that kind of major disaster in your economy, war is not too far behind. Be on the lookout for Turkey. It could become very much destabilized, and Erdogan, who is now pretty much mostly in control of the power there, might become a dictator-in-chief. I don't know. But it's not going very well. The other thing is that Deutsche Bank stock. I had one of my top people on here, Charles Nenner, talking about Deutsche Bank. He says, well, if it falls below $8, then you really got a problem. And what's Deutsche Bank stock been doing? Well, about $8.19. You're talking about Commerzbank, and they're having to raise $10 billion to, another sick bank in Germany to basically join together, so you just have one big pile of goo instead of two fairly big piles of goo with lots of derivatives. I don't know how that works, folks. But that is just those two banks in Germany. I mean, there are so many more multiples above the gross domestic product of Germany, it's not even funny. That you have to look out for. Also, this Brexit. I mean, Theresa May has royally screwed this up. And British commentators have talked about her Brexit deal as being a crap sandwich. Actually, they're a little bit more vulgar than that, but being basically a crap sandwich where they don't ever get out. You can check out, but you can never leave. And so, there's that's very destabilizing, and you don't know how that's going to go down. I really, frankly, think they should just leave because they're acting like, oh, Europe will never trade with them again, which I don't believe that. The EU, if they lose Great Britain, I think there's not... The EU is going to disintegrate. I really do. And then Italy's not going to be far behind after that happens. And there's several other countries that are on the edge too. France is not doing that great either. I mean, really, that's what the yellow vest thing is all about. You think they're doing great financially? You think everything's going swimmingly with all the riots and protests with the yellow vest movement in France? No. So Europe is a mess. And Brexit is not going to help them if they have a no-deal Brexit, which is going to destabilize things for a while. Ultimately, I think Great Britain will be just fine. I think England will be just fine, ultimately, if they unshackle themselves from that. The other big thing I wanted to talk about is this. I mean, when you look at this is just the craziest thing. Treasury 1 month yield is 2.44%. So if I want to tie up my money for a month, I get 2.44%. But if I want to tie up my money in a 10-year Treasury, I only get 2.39%. Folks, this is a yield curve inversion. Now, the 2-year yield is 2.22%. They always go 2s to 10s. But listen, come on. I don't know what they're doing to that part of the curve and how they're manipulating or whatever, but you look at just the simple, at the very bottom of the curve, 1 month money pays more than tying your money up for 10 years. And that usually is a huge harbinger of something is wrong with the economy. Something is very wrong. Listen, when Donald Trump says the economy is doing great here in America, relative to the rest of the world, he is not lying. But it's not doing that great. We just had our GDP downgraded at 2.2%. We've got a lot of debt, a lot of store closings, a lot of things going on. Can the evil weasels, who are the deep state, could they destabilize and take the whole world down if they think Donald Trump's going to put them in jail or bankrupt them or both? The answer is yes. And here, this is talking back to this executive order. Blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse, human trafficking, or corruption to protect the financial system of the United States, a national emergency to deal with that, to protect the financial system of the United States. This December 2017 executive order was re-upped. But this is in the language, protecting the financial system of the United States. And we are fighting some real evil, folks. And I just wanted to print this out because you would never imagine Barbra Streisand saying this. Funny girl. Oh, Barbra Streisand, the singer, the hit singer. Oh, she's lovely. She's won all these awards, been in the movies. Here's what she said about Michael Jackson. And I want to show you this because it's instructive to how the top echelon of the people at the entertainment, music world, movie world, how they think. And this is her direct quote. It didn't kill them about the kids, Michael Jackson. Barbra Streisand sparks outrage for saying Michael Jackson's accusers were thrilled to be there. His sexual needs were his sexual needs, and for suggesting their parents are to blame. She got creamed for suggesting it's their parents' fault, not Michael Jackson's. And you think about that, folks. His sexual needs were his sexual needs. If I knew somebody that was doing some evil thing like he was doing to what these now men describe Michael Jackson was doing, he'd be in jail. He should have been in jail. But, he did Thriller with 30 million albums. But here's Barbra Streisand. It's okay. The only thing that matters is Michael Jackson's sexual needs. Tells you a lot, doesn't it? That's not a big deal to them at the upper echelon, that this goes on all the time, that what Michael Jackson was doing was, everybody knew what he was doing. I do blame the parents. It's sickening. If I was having some stranger and I was rich and, could I sleep with your 7-year-old boy? That'd be creepy, wouldn't it? Yeah, because it would be creepy. But what I'm telling you is that this is how the upper echelon of Hollywood, of the music industry, this is Barbra Streisand certainly is at the upper echelon of people in that world, and his sexual needs, talking about Michael Jackson doing evil things to these kids. Which brings me to this, and I can't say this enough, folks, and especially when you hear these news of this NXIVM sex cult and them money laundering and sex slaves and all this stuff going on in the heiress of the Seagram's fortune involved in it. Just people's minds are blown. My mind was blown. Wow, Barbra Streisand didn't just say that Michael Jackson's sexual needs were his sexual needs. Oh well, and yet she did. And this is what we're really fighting, folks. And this is why God and Jesus all play a part in this, because they're part of the story, folks. Ephesians 6:12, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Folks, I think we are fighting pure evil. This is not like, I like socialism and I like capitalism. Oh no, this is, I like light, and I like God, and I like good, and I favor dark and the devil and evil and doing creepy things to children. That's what we're fighting, folks. It's really unbelievable. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If I told you I could get 44 U.S. senators to vote for killing a baby outside a womb, and that happened, you would think I was nuts 6 months ago, a year ago. Yet that happened. And that's the kind of evil we're fighting. I want to thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com with your comments. I have some of the smartest people on the internet commenting. I want to thank you for your donations. I thank everybody. Some of my emails are bouncing back. Some of the emails I send out are going into a spam file. I have multiple emails I try to contact people with. I had somebody contact me about, who sent me something on my email blast out, said, hey, I finally got this email. That came from A. Weber, who is the people that categorize all my emails to make sure I don't spam people. I'm going to be sending out more emails in the future. Once in a while, I'll send out an offer. I'm not going to do that for a while, but I send out a lot of promotion pieces, a lot of pieces. I sent something out for Jim Rickards, who was very instructive. I know some people don't care for Rickards. Other people like him. And listen, I always like gleaning information from somebody like that. He's a 4-time best-selling author, so he's going to come up with something that's going to be enlightening. And one of the big things he was enlightening is they're going to guarantee everything. And the Fed's in trouble, big trouble. People don't realize that the Fed is in big trouble. I mean, Michael Pinto said that people don't really quite understand, what happened with the Fed. People like Peter Schiff says, once it sinks in that, the Fed has given up. I mean, that's what is ultimately going to drive gold prices. And, I know gold was down here recently, but the long-term, perspective for gold with all the debt out there, all the money printing, and all that, the secret 21 trillion, all the derivatives. I mean, I don't see how gold is not a bad investment. I don't sell it. Get it wherever you want. But I just think that you should have real things, a car title, a house title, food, water, maybe some gold, maybe some cash. Like Rick Ackerman said, somebody else who said it, Bob Moriarty said that years ago, that when the rubber really hits the road, when the confetti hits the fan, you're going to need cash. It's going to work really good for a short amount of time. And with that, I say thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your donations. Thank you. And your comments. Thank you. And then remember, folks, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father, His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are all firmly in control.